you used to think Trump was unfit for office. You called him absurd, you called him unserious.
Just like Vice President Vance and others.
Have bent the knee.
No, I'm not bent the knee. Have come to see the record and have come to see the man.
Trump lied, Adolfo, in order to demonize immigrants like you and me.
Let me tell you something. No, he's not talking about you and me.
Trump branded himself as the person who would, quote, drain the swamp in D.C. Rather than draining the swamp, he is filling it with alligators, is he not?
He's listening to his friends, some of them who happen to be lobbyists.
You're confronted with a Trump statement, you try and find a way to spin it, reinterpret it. Because the facts are clear, he lied.
It's when I take statements that President Biden or others have said,
I don't care about Joe Biden, he's gone in 2 weeks.
He's gone.
Joe Biden lies, he lies about Gaza, he lies about lots of things, we agree. We're talking about Trump's lie now. Is it President Musk and Vice President Trump?
All these loaded questions,
Trump, I just gave you a blunt quote.
You're unfiltered.
On Monday, the United States Congress certified the 2024 presidential election results and Donald Trump's victory over Kamala Harris. The process was peaceful, smooth, and, well, a very different picture to what we saw 4 years ago, when Donald Trump incited a full-blown insurrection, inspiring a mob of his armed supporters to storm the Capitol, after he and his cronies had spent months peddling lies about a rigged election and fraudulent votes following his loss to Joe Biden. But when it comes to the results of the 2024 election, Trump has had seemingly no complaints about that rampant voter fraud he claims we saw in 2020. No, instead, Trump was more than happy to watch Kamala Harris certify the Electoral College results, something his supporters almost killed Vice President Mike Pence for doing 4 years ago. And now, with less than 2 weeks until his inauguration, Trump is already setting the scene for a term bound to be even more hypocritical and reckless than the first. Not only has he nominated wrestling executives and anti-vaxxers to his administration, but he's also got billionaire Elon Musk setting his agenda, with Musk seemingly having convinced Trump to do a U-turn on legal immigration and even risk an entire government shutdown. Now, I've met a lot of people who will go to bat for Trump, but joining me now is perhaps one of his fiercest defenders, Adolfo Franco, who I debated on Al Jazeera's head-to-head just a few months ago. Adolfo is a longtime Republican strategist who even worked for the late John McCain, but was most recently an official spokesperson for the Trump 2024 presidential campaign. Adolfo Franco, thank you for joining me on Mehdi Unfiltered.
Thank you, Mehdi. It's great to be back.
Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Thank you.
The New Year started politically Monday, January the 6th, this week. Congress did its constitutional duty. Vice President Kamala Harris did her duty and certified the Electoral College victory for your man, Donald Trump. 4 years ago, then President Trump insisted the election was rigged, urged his followers, many of whom were armed, to go to the Capitol and fight like hell, which they did, injuring over 100 police officers, causing multiple deaths that day. Why didn't he do that again this year? Is it because he lost in 2020 and he won in 2024?
Well, yes. The answer is yes. I think President Trump feels very, very strongly that the 2020 election was indeed irregular at a minimum.
Because he lost. But when he wins, it's not irregular.
No, I think it's a very different. I don't think anyone on any side believed this year, Mehdi, that the election was close or there were contested. This was a very close election in 2020. There were irregularities, even Democrats' irregularities. But of course, you're not going to say, when you have 312 electoral votes that you've won, that the election, that you haven't won the election.
Well, Biden, I think, had 307, so but they're both pretty similar. And he actually had a bigger popular vote margin. I mean, Adolfo, you want us to believe that when Donald Trump was the sitting president of the United States, controlled the DOJ, controlled the armed forces, controlled the FBI, controlled the cybersecurity agency, the Democrats somehow, without any power, managed to rig the elections against him. But when the Democrats actually controlled the White House and the DOJ and the FBI and the quote-unquote deep state last year, they were unable to rig the elections to keep themselves in power. That makes no sense.
Well, it does make sense. Elections in this country are handled at the state and local level. They're not handled at the federal level.
Okay.
It's the elections in Georgia and Pennsylvania, the irregularities.
Well, Pennsylvania, hold on, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin all have Democratic governors.
Well,
so why didn't they rig it this year?
But where the elections are local, such as in jurisdictions like Philadelphia or Atlanta, in these areas, these are not federal areas. These are areas controlled. There's a long history of our country, whether you like it or not, called Democratic Party machines. There were dailies in Chicago.
Yes, and the Democrats now run the White House, but they couldn't keep themselves in office.
Because no, it isn't strange, because it is local. These are local elections, and these were the local.
And they still control all those places locally. It's interesting you should mention Philadelphia. On Election Day last November, Donald Trump...
Can I answer the question?
Yeah, please.
The president said it. Too big to be rigged.
Well,
I don't disagree.
Well, it was a narrower victory than Joe Biden.
By the way,
it was a narrower victory than Joe Biden's.
I don't disagree when the election is very, very large. And
this was a very close election.
No, it was not.
He won by one of the smallest popular vote shares in American history.
But when you distributed, there wasn't 10,000 votes difference.
In the three swing states
in Wisconsin, it was much larger.
In the three swing states,
it was over 50,000 in
Adolfo,
Pennsylvania
in
alone.
the three swing states, had 133,000 votes or something gone the other way for Harris. She'd have been president now.
Yes, but that's a larger margin than it was in 2020.
Let me just quote your man. On election day, you mentioned Philadelphia. Yeah. On election day last November, Trump was talking about voter fraud on election day.
Yes.
And he was very specific too. He talked about there being, quote, massive cheating in the key swing state of Pennsylvania. As soon as he won Pennsylvania and won the election, we didn't hear any more about massive cheating. What happened to it? Or is there only voter fraud when Trump thinks he's about to lose?
No, I don't believe that for a moment. I do believe, and Republican pollsters, even before President Trump, have said that the margin in many of these large Democratic cities, be they Baltimore, be they Philadelphia, that there is fraud. The answer again is too big to be rigged. There were rural votes. There was a margin that was larger.
So there was massive cheating in Pennsylvania?
There was cheating in Pennsylvania.
In 2024?
In 2024.
You just started the interview saying this was a fair election. No one disputed it.
I said it was too big to be rigged.
You said that later.
No.
Let me ask you this question.
No, I said it was too big to be rigged.
Let me ask you this question.
By the way, President Trump also used those words.
So you've now said, everyone heard you say that you think there was cheating in Pennsylvania even though Trump won.
I think there's fraud and irregularities in every election.
If, on that basis, if Vice President Kamala Harris on Monday had said that she had heard there was massive cheating from Adolfo Franco and Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, and she rejected the Trump state of electors from Pennsylvania, would you have been okay with that? Would you have supported her power to do that? And maybe declare herself president on Monday? You would have supported that?
I'll tell you the answer to that is two things. Democrats have done that in 2020.
That's not what I asked. They've never done that. Al Gore lost in 2000. Many would say he won, but handed over power without an insurrection.
Not his to hand
Kamala Harris, according to Donald Trump's theory, the vice president gets to decide. So could Kamala Harris on Monday have declared herself president on the basis of massive cheating in Pennsylvania?
She could have declared herself anything.
You would have supported that?
No, I wouldn't have, because I don't think the margins were close enough to justify a contestant.
But that's not what. That's not what Donald Trump said at the time.
Before you go
Adolfo,
on,
you can't keep going about margins.
In 2000 and 2004 and 2016, Democratic members of Congress contested the results of the elections when Republicans won.
They didn't try and overturn the election result, nor did the candidate. Hillary Clinton did not, Al Gore did not.
I am talking about members of Congress who actually vote for certification. And they're not the candidates.
So let me ask, I'm asking about the VP only. The vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors. That's what Donald Trump said on January the 5th. He didn't add your little caveat of how big or small the result. He said the vice president has the power. Now, I don't agree with him. You do. So I'm asking, if Kamala Harris had said on Monday, Adolfo Franco and Donald Trump said there were massive cheating in Pennsylvania, I reject the electors from Pennsylvania. You support her power to do that?
I think she would have had a basis to do that had the election been closer.
No, that's not the criteria.
Well,
the criteria, according to John Eastman, Trump's lawyer, was that the vice president is the ultimate arbiter. That's what he said. He didn't say anything about margins. So basically, it comes down to the fact...
Of course, our law has been changed in that regard.
Thankfully, because your guy tried to overturn an election.
Because your guy launched an insurrection. But with the vice president's power...
We had to change the law because of Donald Trump.
No, there was no law. We had to have clarity on the matter.
Because of your boss. Well, here's what's so interesting. It's not just Trump saying, oh, there's cheating, I win, there's no cheating. Suddenly, being okay with election results when you win is now a general Republican Party thing. In 2020, only 21% of voters, Trump voters, said that the election was run fairly. But this time around, after their candidate won, the number surged to 93%. How can democracy in America survive, Adolfo, when one party only accepts the result when they win? The other party accepts. Democrats consistently accept when they lose, accept when they win.
But I have to reject that. Republicans do not simply say because we
literally gave you the stats.
Yes,
21% in 2020,
because
93%.
Because the margins here were such that that was not contestable. But we lost.
Of course it is. Democrats could have contested if they wanted to, the same way Trump did.
We lost very, very close Senate races, and we did not contest them in Wisconsin and Michigan and in Nevada. We did not contest those races.
You're telling me with a straight face, if Donald Trump had lost...
I have to tell you with a straight face.
Republicans would have accepted the result.
The statement to say...
Come on, Adolfo.
Mehdi, the statement saying that Republicans always reject elections when they lose.
I didn't say always.
Not
I
true.
said in 2020 they didn't. In 2024, they did. Nothing changed between those two elections.
I think there were a lot of...
Only difference is Trump won.
But the difference is there were serious irregularities in a very, very close race.
You just said there were irregularities in 2024.
But the margin was too long. Do I think there were irregularities in 2024?
Actually, the margin was very narrow in all these states.
It was not a narrow margin.
You're just making up. What was the margin in Pennsylvania?
The margin in Pennsylvania was 50,000 votes.
You think that's a big win? That's not
That's
out
a large
of 200 million Americans. That's a tiny number.
No, but there are not 200 million Americans living in Pennsylvania. That is a wide margin.
Well,
and that is why we won the election.
What was the margin in 2016 in Michigan when Trump won?
The margin in Michigan in 2016 was 10,000.
Yeah, so why did Hillary contest that?
Because...
There's no consistency to your argument.
Oh, there is a consistency. You know what?
Did you accept that Hillary should contest?
In 2019, what did Hillary say? The election was stolen from me.
Did she contest it? I don't care what she said.
I don't know why she didn't contest it.
So you would have supported her right to do it?
No. She would have had...
Every viewer watching saw you say, if the margin is narrow, you get to contest it.
She can contest anything.
But only Republicans get to contest it.
No, she can contest anything she wishes to contest.
There's a lot of inconsistency with the Republican Party.
A lot of inconsistency when Democrats now say the election was stolen in 2016 and he's illegitimate.
They don't say it was stolen.
Really? Really? Well, look up.
I must have missed
your researchers did a better job in 2019.
Was there an insurrection?
There was no insurrection in 2020. There was no insurrection.
That's not what Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy said.
No, there was a riot, there was a mob, and certain people should be held accountable.
The Senate Republican leader called it an insurrection.
Well, I don't call it an insurrection.
I don't care what you call it. I'm just telling you the leader of your party, one of the leaders of your party said it was.
Well, but he can speak for himself.
No, he speaks for your party.
No, he does not.
That's the definition of a leader.
No, he does not speak for... He is the leader of the Senate. He is not the leader of the Republican Party.
I said he's a leader.
A leader in the party, but he does not speak for all Republicans.
But he's a leader. He's not a random guy in the street.
He's the Senate Republican leader.
All right.
He's not a national leader. Let me clear to your viewers. Nobody elected Mitch McConnell except the people of Connecticut. Okay. No one else did.
Kentucky. Let's talk about inconsistencies in the Republican Party, apart from accepting results that they win and disputing the ones they lose. During his it's just literally what we saw. During his first presidential campaign, Trump branded himself as the person who would, quote, drain the swamp in D.C., who would get rid of White House and government corruption, hilariously. This past election cycle, he even said, quote, you have to stop listening to lobbyists. And yet, since being elected, Trump has tapped a number of long-time lobbyists and put them in key positions in the White House, his cabinet, his administration. Rather than draining the swamp, he is filling it with alligators, is he not? And completely betraying his working class base in the process.
No, he's appointing loyalists, and that's the big difference. What people are in the past, when he came in 2016, I remember when he came in vividly in 2017, is he was dependent and because he was new to Washington, D.C., on the establishment class. That's what he's referring to, a lobbyist. There are people that are lobbyists and so forth that are complete loyalists that he did not bring in 2016. So people who he has now become acquainted with over the last 8 years or has even prior to that.
So it doesn't matter if they're lobbyists if he likes them?
I don't think he likes them if they're loyal to his agenda.
But that's not what he said to the country. He said our country has seen the sickness and corruption of the Washington swamp. So why put swamp monsters in your cabinet?
But they're not necessarily, everybody that's a lobbyist is not necessarily a swamp a person, not every single person.
So that's a circular argument, basically.
No, it isn't a circular argument.
I'm looking at Pam Bondi, Trump's AG, long-time lobbyist for Amazon, a company Trump doesn't like, General Motors, Uber, the Qatari government, Duffy, who's at Transport.
And she's an
he was a lobbyist for Transport. You don't think that's corrupt?
And they're example of people that are wedded to the MAGA agenda, to
we don't know that. We don't know what agenda they're wedded to. Duffy is a long-time transportation lobbyist who's now the transportation secretary. How is that Trump draining the swamp?
And a close friend of President Trump, someone who knows President Trump.
Hold on. Your argument against corruption is to say he's appointing lobbyists who are his friends. That doesn't make it sound any better.
Yes, well, it does make sense in this regard. They're loyal to an agenda he will implement. They're not loyal to a broader agenda of the Washington establishment. Well, Pam Bondi, who I know, is an example of somebody who is extremely capable and completely loyal to President Trump.
So now you're just emptying words of all meaning. You can be a lobbyist, but as long as you're friends with Donald Trump...
He never said you cannot be a lobbyist and be at my administration.
He said you have to stop listening to lobbyists. He's listening to them. He's appointing to them.
Yes, he's listening to his friends. Some of them will happen to be lobbyists, but he's not listening to the lobby class in Washington, D.C.
Oh, the lobby class. Okay,
yes, it
so
is.
Duffy and Bondi and Susie Wells. Let's talk about Susie Wells. During the campaign, Trump committed himself to one of the biggest goals in the Republican Party, a goal I assume you share, which is going after China, standing up to communist China, taking a stand, right? Tougher than Joe Biden on China.
Well, he has been.
And yet, he's made Susie Wells, his campaign chair, the White House Chief of Staff, the most senior official inside the West Wing. And she was, until very recently, the co-chair of a firm that lobbied for Chinese companies in the heart of the White House.
Yes.
Chinese government must be delighted.
No, because I know she is committed to President Trump and
How do we
President
know
Trump's
that?
agenda. Because, you know, this is the same thing as nominees as they prepare before the Senate is. President Trump sets the agenda. If Susie Wiles, which I know she is committed to President Trump,
It doesn't work like that.
Yes,
Adolfo,
it does.
as you know, the president,
Oh, it does.
first of all, the average president gets influenced by people around him. Donald Trump is one of the most easily manipulated people I've ever seen. You don't
Why
think she
do you
can
say
push...
that? I think it's
Because
the
I've
other way.
seen him. I've seen him.
I think
We'll
it's
come to that.
I think it's the other way around.
It's the
I
last-
think
he
Joe
agree-
Biden, who's never fired anybody, is the most
Everyone who's worked with
manipulative
Trump
person.
knows that John Kelly used to say, last person in the room with influence, and that's why he blocked them.
fired.
So you're telling me... I'm sure Susie Wiles will be fired soon. And
I don't believe that to be the case.
Let's
no.
make a bet, shall we?
Let's make a bet. We made a bet on who won the election.
Sportsman, I never bet with you on that because I always worried that Trump would win. Remember that I was the one warning it against it. But let me ask you this: Susie Wiles is lobbying, was at a company that lobbied for Chinese companies. If Joe Biden had appointed as his chief of staff someone from a company that was lobbying for China, you'd have lost it. You and the Republican
I'm
Party
not
would
sure I
have
would
lost
have lost it. It's all over Washington, so prevalent that I would think it'd be business as usual. The difference is Susie Wiles is committed to the president's agenda.
Maybe
now.
all over Washington, but I don't know the last time the
and-
president has appointed a chief of staff who was literally at a company lobbying for communist China, the country you claim to be so
But
obsessed
the
with.
question is, we will see how Susie Wiles comports herself now in the Trump administration. That's her past.
Well, we're already seeing Trump rolling over when he's influenced. He talked about banning TikTok long before Joe Biden did. He's now asked for the Supreme Court to suspend the TikTok ban until he takes office, which there's no precedent for, claiming that he will find a way to, quote, save the platform. And this comes just a few weeks after he met with the TikTok CEO at Mar-a-Lago. As a Republican, are you not concerned to see Trump cozying up to a Chinese company that many top Republicans have described as, quote, spyware and the largest malign influence operation ever?
And I'm concerned.
Look how easy it is to win Trump over.
I am concerned about TikTok, and so is the president. Let me tell you.
He's not.
No. Let me tell you, and mark my words on this. Speaking about coming back on the program, is the TikTok solution will be a solution where TikTok is eventually run by an American firm and is divested of China. That is going to be what's going to be the solution.
That may happen, but right now it's not. And right now Trump is going to bat for a Chinese-owned company.
He's going to bat.
That's what he's doing.
He's going to bat for a platform that 170 million Americans like to use. I don't use it. Like to use it and want to use it. So therefore, he is going to bat for a solution for this.
It has nothing to do with his billionaire donors involved in TikTok.
It has to do with that. It has absolutely nothing to do with that.
So we've seen Trump influence. We've seen him appoint lobbyists. Let's just talk about other people he's appointed to his administration. Not just the number of lobbyists that's caused controversy. It's the number of men accused of sexual assault, rape, and other heinous crimes. He nominated Matt Gaetz for AG, a man investigated by the DOJ for sex trafficking, accused of sleeping with underage girls, something he denies. He nominated Pete Hegseth.
And investigated for by the DOJ, might answer, and no charges.
And the Health Ethics Committee said they found substantial evidence.
But the Justice Department is
the
Justice Department, which has more resources than a House
higher
Ethics
bar
Committee.
as well, as we know. He nominated Pete Hegseth to be Defense Secretary. He's accused of sexual assault, something Hegseth denies.
These accusations,
and
these are accusations.
And he nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Health Secretary, who was accused of sexual misconduct by a nanny, something he hasn't even denied. Does your party not give a damn about sex crimes anymore? I mean, Adolfo, this looks like the sexual assault. This looks like the sexual assault administration led by a president.
Really, those are loaded propaganda words.
Is
sex
it?
crimes. They've been convicted of some crimes.
Hold on. A propaganda word. Let me read out with it. Liable for sexual abuse to President of the United States, your boss. Yeah. So the head of the administration was found liable for sexual abuse, and he's appointed people accused of sex crimes.
Accused. Is accusation.
Is that okay?
Accusation.
In the old days,
I could accuse you of anything.
You're older than me. In the old days, do you think Ronald Reagan or George Bush Sr. would have got away with these kind of appointments?
The old days, in this regard. The
new days. The
new days are these. If any of these individuals had been convicted.
So that's the bar now. You have to be convicted.
You think an accusation...
So a health ethics... So what's the point of a House Ethics Committee's investigation?
An investigation that has not concluded and Mr. Gates never
substantial evidence that former Republican Matt Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old girl.
Did he have an opportunity to refute these charges?
So why appoint him AG when he hasn't done it?
Wait.
Why did Donald Trump nominate him?
But he was accused. He's never been convicted of anything.
So you're okay with that?
You glossed over a DOJ extensive investigation under a Democrat president of Mr. Gates that led to nothing.
So that makes him qualified to run the DOJ?
makes him qualified to say that he's never committed a crime.
You're saying someone hold on, I want to be very clear.
But Mehdi, you're saying if people are accused of something,
yes,
they
it
should
says
be
credible
appointed.
accusations.
Credible? What's credible?
The entire America runs on that basis,
Credible.
Adolfo. If somebody's credibly accused of it, they stand aside, they recuse themselves, they're suspended while investigations go on. You don't make them Attorney General of the United States of America.
No. For example, in the Senate of the United States, if you're indicted, you step aside temporarily from committee chairmanships.
That's a Senate rule.
Well,
Not everyone agrees with
but look how chilling your conclusion is. An accusation credible. That's a subjective term. Credible by one side.
The House Ethics Committee is not a credible group?
Yeah, that's just the one side
not a tabloid newspaper.
That's a side story. Who you haven't heard? What's one side?
How about RFK Jr. at Health?
You have heard.
How about RFK Jr. at
What
Health?
about him?
He was asked specifically about the nanny accusing him of groping her. He said, "I'm not." He said, "I have skeletons in my closet."
Speaking of nannies, I don't know. The first gentleman, I think.
Great distraction.
Oh, really?
Who cares?
What
job is the first gentleman in?
well, get this. He actually agreed.
Do your whataboutism, and I'll just ask the question again.
He actually said he actually was engaged in
I don't care. I'm asking about the health secretary.
Joe Biden has been accused of inappropriately touching women.
And he denies it.
RFK Jr. But that didn't. In his
RFK
case,
Jr. hasn't denied it.
And it is. He has not denied it.
So why is Trump nominating him to the health secretary?
He has not been convicted of anything.
So that's your bar. You can be the highest, most official in the country unless you're convicted of a crime.
I don't think you can be other than that, be the standard. Just an accuser. Yes.
Just an accuser. Is that because Donald Trump was accused by over 24 women of sexual harassment?
No, it's not because of
that. Is that why you guys, Republicans,
I have never lowered the bar
hold on. Let me ask you a question. I don't have the fact checks in front of me. I'm going to take your word for this right now, Adolfo.
All right.
Maybe I'll Google it later. But I'm going to ask you a question. Did you support the impeachment of Bill Clinton?
No, I did not.
You didn't?
I did not support
you didn't think the Monica Lewinsky issue? Because your party were obsessed with it. And he wasn't convicted of a crime.
I tell you why.
Last time I checked. Republicans cared about character and credible accusations at the time.
Do you know why the only basis about Bill Clinton, and you can Google this later, is he committed perjury. Okay, he lied. He admitted later that he lied under oath. Under oath, he lied. That is different. That is perjury. However,
you and I both know Republicans went after him over the affair.
The cheapening of the impeachment process, which we began with President Clinton, was a colossal mistake and has led to these disastrous political impeachment.
And now you have this new bar where accusations don't matter, only convictions do.
Don't you believe in the right to defend yourself?
I believe there's a criminal process, but I also believe politics.
What if I accused you of something? You lost this position.
Politics. That happens every day in corporate America, Adolfo.
I would hope an accusation, unless you would resign on yourself.
I think 24 women accused Donald Trump of something. I trust 24 women over one guy.
Oh, really? A lot of publicity.
24 women are all lying.
Yeah. I think.
Well, a jury in New York disagreed with you.
A jury in a kangaroo court. Yes.
Okay. Convenient. When you lose elections, they don't count. When you lose court cases, they don't count.
Manhattan, 96% Democrat.
You and I have
a kangaroo judge.
You and I have everything's kangaroo. You and I have discussed before. Okay. Well, let's talk about not Manhattan and not judges who are Democrats. Let's talk about Republicans. You and I have discussed before that you used to think Trump was unfit for office. You called him absurd. You called him unserious back in 2016, and then you had a come to Jesus moment.
No, I'm just like the vice president and Nikki.
Well, let's go through the list. His new cabinet is filled. I don't think I've ever seen a cabinet of any leader in any country filled with people who have attacked him in ways that even I've never attacked Donald Trump. His vice president called him America's Hitler. His Secretary of State called him a con artist. His Director of National Intelligence called him Saudi Arabia's bitch. And his Health Secretary said he scammed American workers.
And what did they
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
And when did they say these things?
You tell me.
Yeah, okay. As before we knew Donald Trump's record and Donald Trump's capacity.
Actually, they knew his record. That's why they said he scammed American workers. It was based on his role as CEO.
You asked me my comments. My comments were being made when I was supporting Senator
What
Rubio.
about all his colleagues? What about his new appointees?
And his appointees.
His own cabinet thinks he's Saudi Arabia's bitch, a con man, and Hitler.
And you know what? Just like Vice President Vance and others have come to just the president
bent the knee.
No, I'm not bent the knee. Have come to see the record and have come to see the man. And you know what? We were wrong.
Well, Tulsi Gabbard said that about his record. She was specifically referring to his foreign policy at the time, saying you're behaving like Saudi Arabia's
and she was a Democrat at the time when she was.
So we can't trust any politicians.
She was a Democrat at the time, and this was political in that sense. But these individuals, as myself and other Republicans,
you all just fell into line.
No, we fell into line.
He did a hostile takeover of your party, and you went from John McCain to Donald Trump.
We saw the record of accomplishment, as did the American people. How many presidents have come back after one term?
Just sticking with his appointments and nominations so far, why did he say he had no idea about Project 2025? He called Project 2025 ridiculous and abysmal, and now he's appointed about 10 different people from Project 2025 to his administration. He lied, didn't he?
No, because what you're mixing up something here.
Stephen Miller, Brendan Carr, Russell Vought. Should I go through the list? All Project 2025 contributors, authors. They're now in the administration, as we predicted.
You're mixing up like Project 2025 is an entity. It's a project within the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah.
He's appointing Heritage Foundation people. By law, the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 could not cooperate with the campaign. By law.
But he acted like he had nothing to do with it. He didn't know who's involved in it.
He said he never
read
read
it.
He
knew them. He said he doesn't know who's involved in it. And yet he appointed the people.
I don't think he knew who was involved in drafting up the project.
But they all suddenly got top jobs.
No, but wait, they're all Heritage Foundation individuals. There's nothing against them. And many aspects of, have you read Project 2025?
Yes, I have.
It's 1,000 pages,
yes,
right?
I have.
Okay.
And I did a summary of it.
Many of those aspects of that program, President Trump supports, I support.
It didn't sound like that during the campaign.
But here's the difference.
He didn't say that during the campaign. He didn't say that during the campaign,
There's a legal barrier.
There's no legal barrier to saying whether he agrees with the report or not. And he made it very clear he doesn't agree with it, although now he's appointed all the others. So my biggest question, Adolfo, is why does he lie so much? Not just about Project 2025, about everything. For example, let me give you an example. As you know, on January the 1st, tragically over a dozen people were killed in New Orleans as a man drove a truck carrying an ISIS flag allegedly into a crowd full of people celebrating New Year's. A horrific incident that's now being investigated as an act of terrorism. Donald Trump, the president-elect, immediately took to social media and blamed the attack on Biden's, quote, open borders policy. He wrote, and I quote, "When I said that criminals coming in are far worse than criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true." No, it didn't. That's not true. That's a lie. The driver was a U.S. native born and raised in Beaumont, Texas. Trump lied, Adolfo, in order to demonize immigrants like you and me.
Let me tell you something. No, he's not talking about you and me. He's talking about people who pose a threat to the country. What had been reported initially, which I know Fox News retracted after 7 minutes, had been that the truck and some of these assets had come in from Mexico. So the president, I think, responded to that. The broader point
he responded falsely.
No, he responded with the fragmented information that was made available by the press at that time.
That's not what he said. He made a very definitive statement. That's not how a president or a leader behaves.
But let me
at a sensitive time to make inflammatory.
And the FBI initially, leaders, including the President Biden, said it wasn't a terrorist attack initially. Are they acting?
He lied about it being immigrant. Has he apologized for that?
No, but
has he corrected the record?
Yes, he corrected the record when he's spoken about the broader point.
He immediately lies and makes it about immigration.
No, it's not a lie.
It was an American born and raised.
It does not. It is American born and raised.
So you got it wrong.
It is terrorist or inspired. By ISIS, there's no question about that.
That's not what he said, though.
But again, the information that came out initially, Mehdi, was fragmented.
He jumped, but then he didn't need to jump on it.
But let me tell you, the broader point he jumped
Biden didn't say
remains.
It. Mitch McConnell didn't say it. Only Trump said it.
Remains valid. The broader point remains valid.
You don't get to lie and say broader point. That's not how lies work, Adolfo. He lied about New Year's.
No, he did not lie about it.
And we don't have an open border. Let me ask you this.
We do have an open border.
That's ridiculous. I just came into the United States last night. I can assure you, it wasn't an open border.
Did you come across the border in the Rio Grande?
And in the southern border, do you know how many people have lost their lives trying to cross the border? Why do people lose their lives if it's open?
The people lose their lives because they're crossing across the desert. It is open. There's not enough security on the. Are you trying to tell me the American people in November didn't make a decision based on?
I think the American people got it wrong in November.
Oh, really?
Just like you think they got it wrong in 2020.
Well, the American people got it very right in November because
did they get it right in 2020? Did they get it right in 2012? Did they get it right in 2008? Come on, don't give me this populist nonsense.
But that's not populist nonsense.
I want to stick with the topic because we're going to run out of time. Okay. Lies. Here's another brazen, demonstrable lie Donald Trump has told in recent days. After Elon Musk, the shadow president, came out in favor of H-1B visas for foreign workers, and the MAGA base came out against it furiously, Donald Trump told the New York Post, and I quote, "I've always liked the H-1B visas. I've always been in favor of the visas." That's a lie, Adolfo. He said in 2016, in a presidential debate and across the campaign, that the H-1B visa program was, quote, very bad, unfair for US workers, and, quote, we should end it. Yeah. Why does he lie so much? When we saw it with our own eyes.
I don't think it's a lie. I think he's for the program, but it needs to be reformed. and it needs to be reformed. It can be manipulated. It's been a system that's been used many times to sue employers because of its use.
I understand the program.
You understand the program.
But these are your views. Donald Trump did not say any of this.
Yes, he
I'm going to read it out again, just so you. I've always liked the H-1B visas.
Yeah.
I've always been in favour of the visas. Doesn't say anything about reform. Where in 2016 he didn't say anything about reform. He said very bad. We should end it. He didn't say reform it. We should end it.
Yeah.
So he lied when he said he's always for it.
And you're cherry picking in this.
I'm not cherry picking. Those are the only quotes.
In this way,
which quotes have I missed from him?
Because you're taking things out of context.
There's no.
I don't.
This is a desperate Trump defense.
No, it is not.
Out of context. He's a toddler who you have to interpret.
No, it is not.
I'm reading his words.
It is exactly what he has said consistently. The program has major problems.
That's not what he said in 2016. I'm going to read it again to you. I'm going to
that-
read it
I
one
think-
more time.
I think the
very
sentence-
bad, unfair. Quote.
Yeah.
We should end it. What does end mean, Adolfo?
And I think there's a.
End means reform.
If I recall, there's a sentence or two afterwards that we need to find better ways to bring people into the country legally, and that's what he's referring to.
He explicitly says we should end the H-1B visa program. 8 years later, he says, I've always liked it and been in favour. That's a lie. Anyone who understands English knows that's a lie.
But you know,
unless English is your second language, that's a lie.
Mehdi, the program actually could be eliminated and replaced with a different program.
Fine, why didn't he say that last week? Why did he say, quote, I've always liked... I'm going to read the quote again to you because you don't like his words, I know.
No, but you're taking them out of context.
There's no context. This is a statement to the Post.
Yeah.
Take it up with the New York Post. I've always liked the H-1B visas. I've always been in favour of the visas. That is not true. He was not in favour of the visas in 2016.
I believe he has always, and I know this...
What you believe is irrelevant, Adolfo, with respect. It's what he said. This is what you always do. You come on and you say, well, Trump, you're confronted with a Trump statement. You try and find a way to spin it, reinterpret it. Because the facts are clear. He lied.
It's when I take statements that President Biden or others have said,
I don't care about Joe Biden. He's gone in 2 weeks.
He's gone.
Joe Biden lies. He lies about Gaza. He lies about lots of things. We agree. We're talking about Trump's lie now. He lied in 2016.
It isn't lies.
What is it then?
It's this. I think he has real problems with the program. The program might be eliminated, and the program will.
So why did he say that to New York Post? He didn't say I've got real problems with it. He said I've always liked the visas. I've always been in favour of the visas.
That is not the only statement he made about immigration or visas.
That is the statement he made to New York Post about H-1B visas.
Not in isolation.
That is what he said. People can Google it. You're wrong.
You're right.
Okay, let's talk about Elon Musk, the guy who he's basically Trump's now bowing the knee to. He's dominating our political debate. Musk.
Well,
let's go through it.
All these loaded questions.
Trump. I just gave you a blunt quote.
You're unfiltered.
Trump plays golf at Mar-a-Lago. Elon Musk is basically running the country. He's leading on the immigration issue. Let me go through it. He's leading on the immigration issue. He's leading on the spending bill. He's having secret meetings with the Iranians, reportedly. He's called for the Prime Minister of our closest ally, the UK, to be deposed, removed from office. Is it President Musk and Vice President Trump?
No, it is not. That is just silly.
Is it silly? I just read out multiple examples.
It is silly. Anything that Elon Musk is doing in conjunction with President Trump or at President Trump's direction.
Wow. So Donald Trump wants the British Prime Minister removed. That's a big statement.
He has. Donald Trump has made a lot of statements about foreign leaders.
Has he called for Keir Starmer to go?
He has not.
Because Elon Musk has. You just said they're coordinating.
They're coordinating in this regard, in the broader policy issues and agenda that they're going to bring forward to DOGE. There is no question that Elon Musk has his own personality. He does not have an appointed position in the government, as you know. But he is going to have specific tasks that are going to be given to him.
Including calling for the fall of the British government.
He has opinions that he might have. I don't think he's calling for the fall of the British government.
He's literally said that, Adolfo. You should spend some time on his horrible website.
I know what he's done.
He's literally said that British leaders should be in prison and the government Parliament should be dissolved undemocratically. It's called for a coup. It's called for the king to dissolve Parliament. That's a coup.
He has called for other changes under the European countries as well.
Well, that doesn't make it good. Donald Trump seems to be bothered by the insinuation that Musk is the real president. He even went out of his way recently to say that Musk can't be president as he wasn't born here in the US. It's now being reported this week that he's complaining to people that Musk is around too much.
Oh, this is all just Washington gossip. It's ridiculous.
Trump said it on the record. He said he's always around.
He said he's always around.
And he can't be the president.
He said he's always here, can't get rid of him in Mar-a-Lago, jokingly. So you get to put that in jokingly.
Only a joke? We know that Trump is bothered.
Elon Musk is going to be a strong ally.
How long till they fall out?
They will not fall out. They will not fall out.
Can I book you right now to come back on the show when Susie Wiles is fired and Elon Musk and Trump fall out?
Yes, and I'm going to come back when they're still in.
Okay, in 4 years, right? 4 years.
No one usually lasts 4 years.
A lot of Joe Biden's appointees did.
President Reagan shifted.
Well, Trump had the fastest turnover. We know that. Most people didn't last. Are we not living, Adolfo? Are we not living in an oligarchy when the world's richest man gives over $200 million to help get Trump and Republicans nationwide elected, then gets rewarded with a government position in a totally made up...
Are you talking about Mr. Soros?
In a totally... Which government department did George Soros run?
Are you talking about Mr. Soros?
Adolfo, which government department did George Soros run?
And he didn't run any department.
So then your argument is ridiculous.
He ran it behind the scenes, pumping hundreds of millions of dollars to help Democrats.
Musk is running
setting up
a totally made-up government department where he can eliminate all his conflicts of interest. You know the US government is investigating Tesla's bunch of investigations.
He doesn't have a government department.
Yes, a made-up department, indeed. How is that
Only
not
Congress
corruption?
can create departments.
Agreed. So how is that not corruption and oligarchy? That
it isn't corruption and oligarchy.
He just gets this reward to run things.
It isn't oligarchy.
I give you $200 million and I get a government job.
People come in to government to advise through commissions or simple advisors or designated official functions of the president. I thought Trump does things
differently.
He is doing a difference. He's bringing in an entrepreneur in the world.
Is he a champion of the working class by having a billionaire give him money and then give him a job?
He's a champion of growing the economy and a champion
That's
of being
not what
able
I
to...
asked. Elon Musk gave $200 million or more,
and efficiency,
and he got a job.
Yeah,
how is that not corruption?
It's not corruption to come in somebody who doesn't need a job, somebody who's going to come in.
He does need to get rid of. He does need to get rid of lots of government investigations.
No, what he needs to get rid of is government waste and abuse.
You don't think Elon Musk's going to get rid of all the investigations against his companies?
I don't believe that for 1 minute.
Were you born yesterday?
No, I don't believe it. I believe he's going to get rid of.
You've been in DC long enough to know exactly what's going to happen.
I think he's going to get rid of a great deal of the bureaucracy and all the fraud, waste, and abuse.
So you don't think it's oligarchy that billionaires are just getting jobs in government? Okay, that's literally the definition of oligarchy, ruled by wealthy people. One last question. During this whole H-1B debate, Elon Musk publicly agreed with a post on Twitter, on X, calling Americans to, quote, forgive my use of this language, to fill up the Silicon Valley tech workforce. Do you agree with that view? Are Americans too to work in Silicon Valley?
No, I don't agree with that view.
Why did he say that?
I don't agree with that view. I think there is a lot of talent.
Should Elon Musk apologize for that?
Well, I don't know. I can't tell Mr. Musk what he should apologize for.
Should Donald Trump apologize for that?
I don't think the President Trump has to apologize
for
Elon
Musk.
Why not?
One of his top appointees just insulted the MAGA base. He said they're rich.
He's talking about extremely sophisticated positions in government.
So if you can't,
in industry.
So if you can't do it to sophisticated positions, you're retarded.
No, he's...
if Joe Biden had called Americans retarded, would you be okay with that?
No, he called Americans garbage.
But if he called them retarded, you'd be okay with that?
I wouldn't. I wouldn't agree with that.
Would you call for him to apologize?
And I wouldn't. I think he should apologize for calling the American people garbage.
Great. Okay, so then should Donald Trump apologize for his appointee?
The difference is President Biden used those words. Why should Donald Trump apologize for the words of someone else?
Because the guy he's appointed.
Well,
you take responsibility for your team.
Was President Biden apologizing for things his cabinet and his officials said?
I know your only defense of Trump is whataboutism.
But you know,
Biden's gone. I'm not a Biden defender. I'm here asking you about Trump.
You want to silo things like there's only one standard. There is
one standard.
There is a standard.
A top guy in your side called your base.
Yeah,
do you think that's bad?
And the President of the United States called the American people garbage.
So that two wrongs make a right.
Do you think that's bad?
Are we in elementary school? Do two wrongs make a right?
No. Do you think that's wrong?
Do you think two elementary schools are... Do you think two things wrongs are right?
One's the president, the incumbent president. No, President Biden called the American people garbage.
I'm not here to defend Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah, conveniently.
I'm not. I said Joe Biden's complicit in war crimes. So I'm not the guy you want to put as a Biden defender. I'm asking you, should Elon Musk apologize for saying...
I think he needs to apologize and also clarify the statement. And the statement clarification is the following. I regret saying those words. I do think there is a need for non-Americans to come into the country in certain jobs if they're the most qualified, especially in such specialized fields as the Silicon Valley.
But Donald Trump shouldn't have to disown remarks.
I don't think he needs to apologize for Elon Musk.
He never has to apologize for anything, according to Adolfo Franco.
Shouldn't apologize for you.
I don't think I've ever seen Donald Trump apologize. Let's see what he has to apologize for from January the 20th. Adolfo Franco, we appreciate you taking time out.
Thank you, Mehdi.
You're going to be coming back. We talked about when you're coming back. Yes. I appreciate you taking time out for today.
Thank you, Mehdi.
Did you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and turn on notifications. For exclusive content and to support our independent, unfiltered journalism, head over to Zeteo.com. Your support matters.